Daily chart. Can you all see my screen?
Yep,
Yeah, I
sure
can see
can.
it.
Okay, good. All right. So this week Dow was sideways pretty much Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It was a huge pullback Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Up like 2 days down, Monday and Tuesday, up Wednesday and Thursday a little bit, but down Friday big time. Looks like NASDAQ was pretty much down all week. The Russell just been get killed. Oh, I mean, Russell's still in the same downtrend that we talked about starting back on November 8th, still going down. And then S&P is 2 days up. Down Monday, Tuesday. Down Monday, Tuesday, sideways, up Wednesday and Thursday, but then down big Friday. So, and I guess technically Thursday was Thanksgiving, so market was closed. So, and then on Friday, market was only open for half a trading session. So market usually closes, I think, at 1 p.m. I believe on Friday. All right, so everything pretty much down and down big yesterday. So it's probably going to be reflected in our stocks. So you look at Apple. Apple was down 3% yesterday, down 5 points. Let's look at Facebook. Facebook was down 2%, 2.3%, down 7 points, almost 8. Let's see. Let's do Netflix. Netflix was down, and actually Netflix was up. Well, it's up because it was higher than the previous close, but even for the day, it was down like 10 points from the previous day. Let's look at Microsoft. And Microsoft is down. Let's look at Boeing, the aircraft company. Boeing got killed earlier in the week, particularly, I guess that was Monday. Monday it got crushed. I think they said that a few of the, I'm trying to think where it was. It was some region in the world that had a big outbreak. And as a result of it, I believe it was Africa, actually, a new outbreak with a new corona variant, and that they start canceling flights coming out of Africa. So a bunch of the airliners as well. So Boeing got hit on that news. And so if we look at the airliners, they're probably going to be the same. Yeah. So they got hit on that news, as well as American is down. See, Spirit is down. That Southwest. So, that whole sector got hit pretty hard. Let's see who we got on. We'll look at some of you all's individual holdings. So, Christian, let's look at your Hood. Hood been getting killed. Have you been paying attention?
I have. It ain't been looking pretty good.
Hood has been getting killed. So I'll let you talk through this chart.
Yeah, it broke through that. It was holding at the 36, 38 point for a good little minute, just going up and down sideways, but it broke through, going on a downtrend. So it's at 27 now. That's low.
Yeah, it's pretty bad on this one.
Yeah.
And actually, when you look at this, it's actually lower than the IPO price. So
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause that's what I was checking for. I was like, what was the IPO price? Because it just came through this year, a
yeah,
couple months ago.
yeah. I think it opened at 30, 33 and some change, 34, somewhere around in there. Yeah, we're much below that. So we'll mark this as a low right here. It's 26.66. Yeah, so I don't know what to say on that one, but
I don't know what to say either. I'm looking, but I'm just like, I don't know.
now one thing is let's see something. Turn this 15. Yeah, so it just looks like you got somewhat buying. I was trying to see from a volume perspective if volume even had picked up in here. But the only good thing about this is that with the NASDAQ being down, you know, pretty much it was, I think it was first 2 days was down. Last 2 days were, first 2 days was up, last 2 days was down. Actually, this has had 3 up days in a row. So, it's very small, but still, considering we got killed hard yesterday and this didn't, that might be, okay. So, pay attention to this 2660. See what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tempted a little bit to dip my toe in, but I don't know if I'm putting it in hot water or not. So
that's the thing. That's the key.
Yeah. Now, if we take our deal here and extend it, let's see what we got.
Well, if you trust your chart, then this at a support line, so this is supposed to be a good place to buy, right?
Yeah, but here's the other piece on that chart, Dave, and this is why we draw these trend lines. The thing is, but I just drew this trend line, this support line, because it's just the lowest point on the chart. Where you have to be mindful of this and just not blindly do it is, I have nothing to the left as a reference point. This is the lowest it's ever been. So I don't have any historical reference to the left to say that this is going to hold. So one of the things we can do is, when we talk about here on the trend line, is we can wait till it comes up and breaks above the trend, because I don't know if it's over. So yeah, you can dip in right here because you got a hunch, but you have nothing on the left side of the chart to validate that as being a previous low point. So now on this trend line, you can see this trend line's going down. If we want to wait for confirmation, wait till we get a close above and it breaks the trend line. Now you may give up, some points, and that's fine, but you want to see it reversing and start to go back up, because let's say if this thing continues to go down to 17, I can buy right here, but I'm just still buying high until it actually makes a reversal. So, but that was a good question on that. And you might be right. You just may not have the confirmation yet, and you could be early, and that could be a point. But without having anything else on the chart, I just don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. David, since you're on, let's look at your Roblox. I know you was happy about that one the other day.
For my play money.
Okay. All right.
When we first started all of this, I picked Roblox. I never pulled out.
You never did. Did you ever really buy into this?
No, I couldn't afford. No, I didn't do that.
Okay.
But I'm just talking about for the play.
Oh, for the
joint.
Yeah, I got you. What you holding for real?
Nothing.
Not holding anything now? Okay.
No, I ain't holding nothing.
Gotcha. All right.
I'm holding the faith and I'm holding the line.
I feel you. All right, let's see. Deke, let's look at your wing. See what you got going on with wing. Let's see. Actually, this is wing, so they pretty much down for the week, but it hadn't broken back down to this all-time low. So what you doing with this wing, Deke?
I'm just holding it right now. I'm holding it, hoping it to get back down to that 148.
Mm-hmm. If they get back down there, you pick up some more?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you believe in them thighs over at Wingstop, huh? Like
yeah,
say, we got thighs.
We got them thighs now, bro.
Right. And but even as I look here, see that in this pattern, kind of sideways, and it's holding. So this is it's pretty encouraging on this Wingstop. All right. See, Vanessa, let's look at your faux water resources. They actually.
Ooh.
Right. But this looks like the chart from what the kind of the NASDAQ and Dow did. Everything got hit bad yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not surprising. But you remember last time we got that break to the downside. It was a buying opportunity. So don't know if it's going to continue or not. But so I'm gonna keep an eye on. And let's check getting the video. Yeah, actually, NVIDIA just had one bad day. Pretty much breaking through, and was down a little bit for the week, but it was sideways, so it was kind of down to sideways, but nothing extraordinary compared to how a bunch of other stuff had been down. So, all right, let's see. I went through everybody. Brenda coming in right on time. Let's look at her Facebook. All right. Brenda, can you hear me?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Good morning. Hey, here's your Facebook. What you doing with it?
Good question. I gotta remember. Did I decide? Oh yeah. I think I actually dove out right near that peak there with the when the interest rates started going up, because tech stocks are gonna start. Well, had a small little dip there, and I was like, I'm gonna wait and see what it does, and I'll jump back in later. But I do want it for a long term.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, you came right in because we went through everybody else. Yeah, so actually Facebook is holding up well compared to what the NASDAQ has done this week. It's down a little bit, but nothing horribly bad, versus how some of the other stuff has.
Yeah, I do think they're more like that one. Yep.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if anybody was in this FUBO, but FUBO's actually was encouraging for the week. Was down Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday was up, and then Thursday was up, considering that the most indices were down on Friday. I said Thursday, but on Friday. So that's a good sign for FUBO. I hope this thing could just continue to go sideways and build this base. See, you got some support here at this $20.50 level, and then it went back to a much lower low back in May of $14. I hope we don't go back down there. But yeah, so FUBO looks all right if we can just continue to go sideways. All right, so I think I went through most of everybody's picks. Any new things that y'all looking at, or any other topics you want to cover? Everybody don't answer at once.
I have a question for you. Do you other than your technical, do you look at seasons for certain types of stocks?
Not really. I really don't look at the seasonality. Now,
Mhm.
one thing I will do is I'll pay attention to kind of like rotations that are happening, maybe within sectors or stocks. And we kind of talked about that a bit. So, like before you came on, we was talking kind of what happened with the airlines, and looks like we're back on that same thing here again with the airlines because Africa has some new Delta variant, and so they're shutting down a bunch of flights coming out of Africa. So like Boeing got hit hard, and looks like some of the other stocks are down as well. So I think American, I think we looked at that one. It was down big. Yeah, so American got big. So maybe Spirit doesn't fly international. Maybe they probably why they didn't get hit. Let's see, Love. Yeah, they got hit. Delta. Yep, Delta got hit. So more just rotation as opposed to seasonality. So yes, what are you looking at something specifically along that play?
What was I thinking about? Well, like with the Christmas season for one,
Okay.
and I noticed just looking through the year, I was following like Camping World, and so I'm trying to start thinking about what different things do during like summer season and winter season and stuff like that, and like some of the retail. So that's what I have started thinking about, right? So should I start writing down on my board what different stuff does like during seasons?
Yeah, I would definitely look at that. That's a good thing to do. I believe. I just don't personally, but it may make sense to do so. Let's see what this Camping World's done here. It's definitely in a range for sure. Yeah. I guess we can drill out too. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this Camping World has been, particularly if you look at this range here.
Right.
That was a range to play. And even back here as well. Yeah, could have played those ranges. Are you in this, or is this one you watching?
That was one I'm watching. I was in it earlier.
Okay.
Earlier in the year, and so I just try to keep an eyeball on it and seeing if I could just figure out what its thinking is throughout the year. Like, do more people do it beginning of the year, end of the year, because it is a camping kind of outdoorsy thing. So that's what I was wondering.
Okay. Yeah, well, something I found, we talked a little bit about it, I think last meeting, was what's going on with these payment providers. And I think also I think Vanessa mentioned it. Vanessa, what's your, I know y'all are TSIS, but what is it? What's the ticker again? CPN, QNP, QPN? I can't remember the ticker of your company. What's the name of your company again, Vanessa? She can't talk now, but I know TSIS was, let me see, some payment network. CPN, GPN, Global Payments, that's it. Global Payments. So these payment providers like Square, PayPal, uh, they have just been getting killed lately. So you can see here GPN is down to a multi-year low from where it is. Square has been getting killed here recently. You can see here we're at support. Now, David, this one is a little bit different than where we were on that hood. And so Square is definitely back down support, but I got stuff to the left to show on this support level at this 211, 210. And then even a second support level at 202. So Square would be one that, you know, I would have much more conviction of buying at these support levels here, particularly if it gets close to this 202. Let's look at PayPal. PayPal been really getting killed. So you can see PayPal is back to a low that goes back to November of 20. So yeah, PayPal getting killed big time. And
Any
then,
thoughts on why those guys are suffering so much?
I don't know. I think this is more of I don't know the true reason, but you can see it happening across the sector. And so for whatever reason, a bunch of people are getting out of it at the same time. Now, why? I have no idea. But you can see here, you know, Visa been getting killed, MasterCard following suit. You know, all of these are down, you know, big, you know, to some low and at support points, you know, for a lot of them. So in that case, you know, those types of things may be more of a record, not record, but more of rotation out, you know, from one thing to another. Yeah. All right, let's see. Something else gonna say on that as well. Oh, I was looking at this Moderna.
Yeah, it had a good little pop up yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think it was actually was it MD or MNRA? All right. Got it here. mRNA. I can never remember their ticker. Yeah, so that I was saying that it was canceling a bunch of flights, and we were looking at how the airliners got hit because of the Delta variant. I mean, not the Delta variant, but it's a new variant coming out of Africa. It's not called the Delta variant, it's some other kind of variant. But I don't know if they named it yet. But you can see Moderna here was big on that news from Thursday to Friday. So it was up, you know, 56 points. It's a crazy move off of that. Off of that Moderna news. I mean, off of that variant news. So, and two, if we look at Pfizer, probably a pop as well. Yep. Pfizer got a big pop. Moderna, Pfizer. Trying to think. Oh,
J&J.
yeah, I think J&J. they didn't.
They don't like them.
Right. Yeah, they out of favor. But you know, so that's the thing. Let's see what else. Yeah, so you know, so you'll have some of, you know, those things happening. So like I said, I don't necessarily play the seasonality stuff, but you know, you can see some things. So pay attention to some news to see, you know, how news and maybe even some of the geopolitical stuff may be affecting stocks, and just try to start correlating some things. And actually kind of going back with that airline piece, let's look at Marathon Oil. So oil took a hit. Now here oil was down from Wednesday to Friday. I don't know if that was just because we had a big pullback in the market, or some of that airline stuff priced in as well. So not sure. Let's look at PLTR. It's Milt. How you doing, Milt? I was just thinking about your PLTR. What you doing with PLTR, Milton?
Hey, morning. How are you?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Really good.
Good.
Well, I got caught a nice market rotation.
Yeah, big time.
But on the good side of it, they took all my stock. So I am playing the other side of the wheel now. I'm doing covered calls.
Okay.
And I'm playing it pretty close because I suspect that we're going to have a little bouncy. And until it breaks over probably 21, it probably can go maybe all the way down to that 18 if it doesn't break above that.
All right.
So since this looks very bearish, I'm going to use covered calls.
Okay. How far away from the current price? So we're at 2103. How far are you selling the calls up?
22. I should have went 2150.
Mm-hmm.
But I am still optimistic.
Okay. Yeah, and given kind of where we are chart wise too, we are at a good bounce point where we got some history, right? So I would say, yeah, it's going to be an interesting area between this 2128 and this, 2028 and this 2103. Wouldn't be, I don't know. I think this is going to be determined in the interim more by kind of what the overall market does for the next couple of weeks versus it being just, an individual stock. I think if we still get a huge market pullback, I think a lot of these stocks are going to be in trouble. But if the market can kind of settle out and start to, go sideways to up, I think some of these things that are down at support levels are going to bounce pretty decently. But a lot of stuff has gotten hit. Like you look at Shopify. Shopify was down 52 points, so 3%. So if I just sort this list here and just see what, so let's look at some of the names. So that Moderna was up 20%. Pfizer is up 6%. Chewy up 3%. Not that surprising. Chewy being up 3%. Roku. Let's talk about. I don't think we've talked about Roku. Roku been getting killed. Roku has some really strong support at this 300 level, but it broke through it like, a knife through hot butter. So this. So if you see here, when we go back and look at this area that was such, a good support level for Roku, it just cut through that and it's just been going lower and lower. So you can see Roku is back down to lows, going back to October of 2020. So I want to see what's going to happen with this. So again, I'm just looking at this trend, wait until we can get some confirmation on that. But it's here at this support level. But I want to see the trend reverses first, in some significant way before I trust these support levels on this huge downtrend. But just interesting on Roku. But when you look at some of the other names that had big down weeks, so you see Gush. So this is an oil play. So this probably got hit based on that news about the variant out of African Airlines. So they probably got hit on that. Here's your energy piece. They got hit Friday as well. They were down 13%. So you look at some of these names, airlines, UAL, I think it's United, I believe. Yeah, United. Yeah, they were down 9%. We talked about, now this one had been bucking the trend. We talked about the payment or bank, not banks, but like credit card and payment companies. So you can see here that American Express has been sideways to up, but the last 7 or 8 trading days, this thing has fallen out of the bed pretty hard, but definitely hadn't really suffered the same type of pullback that MasterCard, PayPal, Square, Visa has suffered. So those things have been down much more. So you can see that we just had, a bunch of things pulling back, 6-7%. These are big moves. Mara, this is a Bitcoin mining stock. They were down, 6 points on Friday. So, so it's a bunch of these things. So you're just gonna really see what's gonna happen here with with the market in terms of where it goes the next few days. Let me ask you all this. With this market pulling back as hard as it has, have you all been looking at certain stocks in your watch list to say, hey, let me start putting my wish list together, because if it gets down to a point where I know it has strong support, I'm going to start buying some things? Anybody looking at any stocks to buy?
I am still doing a slow accumulation of banks, Wells Fargo in particular. Every time it drops below 49, I start buying.
Okay. So 49. All right. Yeah, actually, I know you talk about this being one of the worst banks in the bunch, but they've done pretty well from October to November, and then kind of sideways since. Interesting. Let's look at Citi. See how they're doing. Citi is just the opposite. Citi been going down. Let's look at Bank of America. Bank of America looks like closer to what your Wells Fargo, say Morgan Stanley. Let's look at JP Morgan. Yeah. So some of these were more on an upward trajectory, whereas some of the other ones had already started to pull back. So interesting. Let's look at my company. They got hit. Oh man, they got killed Friday. Yeah, it was down 7%. That's a huge move.
What is your thesis on this company?
Aegon? Yeah, it's an insurer, Dutch insurer. They multi-conglomerate. They own a bunch of stuff around the world. They've been in. They can't get out. They haven't been able to get out of their own way in, years. We've been in this $3 to $5 range for a while, but you can see it goes all the way back. You move the top out of this and the low out of this. You can just say this area here. What's that? It goes back. Well, that's 6 years right there, 2015. Well, and then if I just keep moving the chart back, we can even go farther than that. So the short of it is, they got a new CEO in. He's supposed to be market focused. He's probably in its, I think he'll be a year and a half. He's almost close to the year and a half mark. I think maybe June will be 2 years for He's trying to cut, they're creating a lot of different, putting in a lot of different cost cutting strategies. So they divested a bunch of companies. They're counting pennies. They brought in a consulting company to basically look at all the cost, try to remove a bunch of the excess costs and stuff like that. So I think that they're making progress. And you can see here, a year ago, February, we was down in the $2 level. So, you got a double already if you're looking from that perspective. So I think if they can keep going in the right way, and if the market will start to give them some love. So they've been participating like in what they call them, like investor days, having much more dialogue with the stock market. I think they actually rung the bell for the NYSE recently. So they're really trying to have more of a market focus, where they said the previous CEO wasn't market friendly. And so I think those two things together, one was just trying to get, a better relationship with Wall Street, as well as the cost cutting. It's going to be interesting to see if it works. I think that, they're going in the right direction. But sell insurance. Now, insurance is a good, and so you kind of got, even with all of this kind of, what's the right way to say it, kind of this sideways movement from, $3.78 to $5, right, over the last, 10 years, 12 years, or whatever that has been. If you think about it, interest rates have been cut. If you look at coming out of 2008, with the housing crisis, interest rates just getting cut. We're in a zero interest rate environment. A lot of the products that they sell are fixed rate products, so they haven't been able to make a lot of money, doing that. So they've just been, going sideways on that. So as interest rates, start to come back, and if the Fed start tightening, I think, that's going to bode well with those other two areas that I mentioned, the cost cutting as well as the Wall Street friendliness. So I would look at them kind of like you do the banks. If the interest rates, do well, they should participate well as well. All right. Let's see. I think somebody else joined. Let's see what's that. What's up, Barry? Let's see. Let's look at Barry. I think Tesla was one of his stocks. Tesla's been doing well lately. Barry, are you at a place you can talk, or you at work?
Working.
Oh, okay. Cool. How you doing?
But I wanted to get on. I got some VU and VTI went down this week.
Okay. Yeah, I was showing earlier, everything got hit, the market, but I wouldn't worry about that VU. That VU is going to be all right. VU is ETF for S&P 500. But if you just look here long term, so let's just go to a monthly.
Yeah.
I mean,
How about the VTI?
VTI? What's VTI?
This is total stock market index.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You should be fine with both of those, unless we get, an overall pullback. Now, let me look at that. I think we had talked about this one a little bit before. If we remember last time we got a pullback in a broader market, this is the S&P chart. So it's S&P 500 and just really a broader market index. Last time we were looking at this 4360 level on the S&P. So to me, this is definitely a line in the sand. If we break this, we're much higher now, but if we get back down and we break this 436 to 426, then we could be in for a much stronger pullback. So I would definitely just keep my eye out for this 436 level to say 426 on the S&P SPY. That's the Spider Index ETF. And not only just for that in terms of the two that Barry just looked for, but for everyone, because if the broader market SPY or the S&P 500, if it starts to turn and go down, it's going to bring a bunch of stocks with it, and would not be. And then two, you have to compare to see if the Dow and the Nasdaq will hold up if the S&P starts to come down. And the reason for that is some of the S&P, some of the stocks that are in the Dow are in the S&P 500, as well as some that are in the Nasdaq index. So keep your eye out for that. Let's see. There's something else I was gonna say. Oh, but yeah. So back to my earlier question: are any of you all looking at any companies in this pullback that we have had that you? Go ahead.
I was looking at Open Door.
Open Door. That's okay. Yeah, it's the real estate. Yeah, let's chart this up real quick and put it on a daily. Let's see what we got here. I could draw that one. Take this one. Okay. All right, let's see. So this Open Door Barry definitely was in a uptrend here. Broke it. Got this downtrend here. Pretty much going sideways from this point. Then we kind of broke it. Now we're back in this range, and got to pull back here. So yeah, this uptrend there. So looks like, once it broke this 22, then it was down this area. So look at this 13, this 14 level, see what happens with if this downtrend continues, and as you get closer to this 14, and see what it does, or if it's going to break that downtrend and reverse. So, but yeah, interesting. I know Zillow got out of the. They had a program where they were buying houses themselves, and I think Zillow took a huge loss on that. I think a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Their earnings came out, and they said they was getting out that business, but they got killed.
Mm-hmm.
They got killed on that.
Yeah, they did.
Let me do this. But Zillow had been rocking.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, so you down here to some support that goes back to.
Yeah, so go back at the beginning, eh?
Right, 20. Yeah, it's getting
wow,
close.
man. God, dog.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny though how just looking at this, how some of those previous support lines and how far they go back and give you context. So yeah, you gotta definitely
I'd wonder though, Mike, if you would even use technical for one like Zillow because of the news, because they were saying like a high percentage of all the homes that they had bought because they got into that new market, they're selling or listing right now for way less than what they bought them as, and so I'd wonder if you'd want to wait until that would flush out for a stock like that.
That's a great point. I don't know. So
yeah,
I don't. So
that's why they got killed, because they bought all those houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they algorithm's wrong.
Paint them and flip them, and now they're saying like a high percentage of those guys are being listed for less than they bought, and so they're trying to offload all of those puppies.
Yeah, given that, and that's good information, because that stuff doesn't show up in the chart per se. So if you were to take that and say, hey, I don't know how many houses, but if you were to start to do some research, listen to conference calls and analyst reporting, they may list either the number of houses, or I know they had a total amount that they said they lost. It was something in the billions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you took, let's just say, I don't know, just for this discussion, let's just say it was $1 billion, right? And if you took a median home price, in America, let's just say you took $200,000, right? And you divided that out. So whatever that, math is, there's at 5,000 or 500,000. So you say, okay, well, how long is it going to take them to sell that off? How many quarters do you think you got to go before, again, you get back to some level of normalization? So, to your point, if you think that, hey, they got, another year or two to work all of that, inventory out, unless they're going to sell it, to some investor or somebody, all at once to go ahead and deal with it, as opposed to it's lingering for some time. You can say, well, until that happens, I think it's too early, right? Or if you say, I don't know, and I want to say they did the write-off in this quarter. So I don't know if they just take the write-off base to mark the market, or do they just wait until they get rid of that and it's going to have more downward pressure on the earnings number? I don't know.
Right.
But but you asked a very good question on that. So, I think whatever that answer would be, what your research will turn up, will determine if you start nibbling here or if you wait. So, yes, ma'am. But yeah, but that's good input. Good input. Let's see. Now, actually, as a another area or some stocks that's been playing off of the real estate piece, on the other side is the retailers, home building retailers, Home Depot, Lowe's. They've been killing it. I mean, just absolutely killing it. Look at these charts. I mean, you're talking, this is August of this year, 183 to 240. So if we just look at they had earnings come out and they dropped, but they quickly recovered. You're talking 40% in 3 months, 4 months. That's crazy. So they've been doing their thing. Too bad I don't have any, but yeah. So they're doing well. So again, what are you all buying? What are you all putting in your watch list, to buy on these pullbacks?
I got two I'm looking at the moment, debating on DraftKings and Newmont.
Yeah, DraftKings are getting killed.
So I'm wondering if he's bottomed out or not. So I'm still holding off.
Yeah, where's DraftKings?
DK.
Oh,
DK, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've been looking at DraftKings. DraftKings definitely getting killed, but you got a previous support point here at this 35. So it's definitely back there. Now here's one with a seasonality piece, and I don't know enough about DraftKings, but this is kind of to what you had asked earlier. So you probably got another 2 months of football. Is there any seasonality around once football season in, or do they have enough other sports that they're not dominated just by football? But when I look here, just to see, coming up August, September, they had a big run up. Let's look last year, August, September. Let's see, January for let's see, 20. Let's go 21, August, September. Yeah. So you can see here, you got a run coming up to September. So yeah, it looks like they're football dominated. And when did they bottom out? They bottomed out in November last year. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They're bottoming out now, November.
So that's what I was wondering. Yeah, that's one of those where I'm wondering if he just has a nice little year end kind of thing, and it's nice time to get in.
Could be.
You got to realize that
Go ahead, Milt.
that we're going to be running to the championships in college and in the pros, the playoff, and the Super Bowl. So I can understand why it would start going up.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny though. Why would we have this big dip in November though? I mean, because this is from the end of October to November.
You see, it's following like that same pattern. So I was like,
Yeah. It's one I don't follow, so all I can do is just look at the chart and try to make some assessment. Yeah. But again, you had a support point here. Now, what I would do, I would definitely just pay attention to this downward trend. Now, you can start nibbling here if you wanted to, but like you say, it could continue to go lower. But once you get a close above the right side of the of this, and if you say, because you're looking at this, I'm kind of going. So if I wanted to make it, let me change it. Well, this is let me say it this way. You can take this angle and say, okay, this is more of a conservative, right? I can tighten this up. So let's just say here, let me tighten it up and show you when I'm get all this crap off my chart. Let's see. So here, right? I could draw another one, which is more representative of this trend that we're in, and make it a bit more tighter, right? And then I can say, okay, hey, if you get confirmation to the right of this, then you can possibly start to look at it. And another thing you may want to look at is, do you get it with any kind of volume as well? And you may not, because a bunch of selling. So let me check something real quick. Yeah. So this is a indicator on this chart that basically shows where has the most volume for this stock. Where have people bought this stock the most, and at what price? You got a lot of people in this stock that this orange line is where the most buyers, most people that have bought this stock is, or where the most volume has occurred, either buying and selling at $49 level. So kind of given that, you don't have a whole lot of, crazy volume in the price point at 36 here. And you at a support level, I will watch it, wait for the confirmation, and then, start to see, what happens. Because if you get a decent confirmation here in the bounce, you may be back into this, a similar play here, starting that trend up. And if you repeat that again, so let's just say we measured that out, if that went from here back to there, it's a 49% move from 36 back to 51. So that's a huge move. That's definitely worth watching. So let me see. I bought a few things this week. So I bought some Square. Kind of talked about it off of this bounce here at the 212. What else I bought? I think I bought some AMT, some American Tower, cell phone tower company. Let me, one second. Yeah, so I bought some of this. Let's see what else did I buy. Yeah, let's see what else I bought. Square. Let's see. Oh, some APPS. It's been getting killed lately too. So I bought some of this. And a little AQB. So So all of these are stocks that have been just, took out to the woodshed, shot for dead. So about a little bit of this as well. So just looking at, things that have been, taken out of favor, and act like they're never, gonna make another dime, and bought a little bit of this space ETF. Well, it's not an ETF, it's Virgin Atlantic. So bought some of this as well. So, just looking at, been looking at some things, you can see pretty much all of those. They're just down at support levels after a huge pullback. And I could be early in a bunch of them. And that's fine, but I'm playing the longer. I think, this, hopefully we get a bounce here. But, those are the reasons for buying those at those levels. So I would encourage you. Let me ask you, how have you? We're coming up toward the end of the year. How would you all say this year has been for you and your portfolios in terms of, are you looking like you're having a positive year? Have you been, if you've been putting some of these techniques, into practice for what you're holding? Has it been helpful? Kind of what your reflection for the year is in terms of the decisions that you made in your portfolio, and and then I guess the last question would be, what are you looking to change possibly for next year? So what have you done? How's the year been? What do you look to do next year? Anybody can start there. Bueller. Nobody.
I'll step out and say something. It's been a good year for me because I've learned a lot and I've applied some of it. Mm-hmm. My thing is I just need to get the confidence in learning when to sell and when to buy. I got the general idea by buy low, sell high. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's when you got to get past your feelings. Because my thing is I have a tendency to hold too long. Even if I see gains, I'll keep holding. Next thing I know, it's back down to where it was when I got in. So I have to be careful. I need to learn how to pull the trigger and sell it and that kind of thing. So I'm looking to do more of that next year. I'm learning more and building up my confidence.
Good. Thanks for sharing that, Vanessa. One thing I will say on the sales stuff that may help. So let's say you're in a stock, you're up big on. So let's take your FO as an example, right? Let's say you're in here, right, and you're in and this thing is run. We're up to this 60, above this 59.61. Say you had 100 shares of that, right? What I would suggest you do is sell 25 shares, right? So in the overall message would be, since you know that taking profits is hard, break the amount of the number of shares down into different buckets. So if you divide it, by 4, on the case of 100 shares, if you just say, hey, if it gets up to the peak point that it has gotten before, I'm just going to sell 25 shares here. And the reason why I say that is because what it does for you, it'll break your decision making into several pieces, and you can sell some, realize some of that gain, know that you're working toward trying to break that habit, but also at the same time give you some let you kind of ease into it, and you don't have to make the decision all at once. So that would be a suggestion I would have for you in that respect.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'll kind of echo what she was saying. Yeah, my get out points, I've got to watch. And then I've got to watch it from when it starts sliding to jump out a little quicker. Well, two things, right? One, to use your some of this information and either jump out quicker. But if I don't, then I've noticed my trend is I'll hold it. And then when I finally give up, I haven't paid attention to those, support levels. And then when I give up, it's like, oh, now you're going to rise on me. Oh, okay, this is how we want to act, right? So I've got to either pull out and pull that trigger much quicker. And then if I decide that, okay, I do want to keep it for a little bit longer, then I need to just, go in for the long haul and watch those levels.
Good. Yeah. One thing I would say for you too, Bren, do you make a distinction, or ask the question, do you make a distinction between things that you're holding long term or your trades? Do they happen in both?
My long terms, I pretty much just let them do whatever they want to do, right? I just kind of, all right, it's like I'm up for the whole year, but some of my percentages now are lower than my total up percentage, because now I'm like buying my reds, what I call my reds, because I'm planning for what I'm trying to do next year. And so to your question, then I'm making a distinction in my head that, okay, I'm buying you guys that are deadbeats, like your squares and all that, because I want to hold you through longer next year. So I'm not going to pay attention to what you're doing. But you guys that I'm just playing around with as trades, then I'm going to have to watch your charts a little bit closer.
Yeah. And so I would say on those trades, it's some of it is maybe writing a rule for yourself, and you say once you get up a certain amount, you automatically sell and take a certain percentage. And you're probably gonna have to make it mechanical until it can become natural. And to the same thing that I suggested for Vanessa, is that and it might be a little bit harder for you, because if you're doing just short term, and I'm not sure how much profit you have in some of these, it may be harder to break them up. And so maybe as opposed to breaking them up into, 4 different buckets at 25% a piece, you maybe just break them up in 50% buckets, sell half, at the peak, and then maybe set a stop, a little bit lower and sell there. But maybe trying to put a rule in place for yourself on the selling may help as well. And try to get consistent on following that rule. But I think if you put it to paper and kind of commit to it, you can make it a thing,
And I know, and I've started doing, like, for my trades, to not being worried about how much it goes up. So, like, I've been playing with that plug, which I kind of told you about before, and I noticed that he's always bouncing around, and so I'll buy it on nice little dips, and then I'll just get out of it when it goes back up. And so I've tried to pay attention to where, like, okay, you're not looking for big ups on this guy, because you're just riding the bouncing for him. And so therefore, if it goes up a little bit, don't get greedy, because or else then I'm just following, like Vanessa said, I'm following it back down again to where I was before. So.
Yeah, I would definitely say draw your support and resistance lines for sure. And once you kind of draw them, then see. So like if I were looking at this one, say I bought at this, let's say I'm in at the 30, right? It's been a nice run up, and then use your get used to drawing these trend lines, because you can see here this trend has been broken, right? So if I extend it up, you can see we got closes above to the right side. So the trend has been broken. If you use this as a trend piece, because again, if I'm in at 30, I'm riding the trend, and I get a close right here, you can see that now the trend is broken in this area here. Wrong tool. Trend is broken in this area right here. So I should be looking to sell some, because really what you're doing is you're protecting these $30 profits. So if you're here at 30, you break out and you close below this 42, So anywhere from 42, 42 to 40. So you say that's $2. $2 of the you've gained. So you say from 30 to 40, that's 10, right? And then if you gave back to, so you're trying to save 8. So you're losing 2 to save 8, right? So that's the way that you would want to look at that, because your risk reward is that you're in profit. So you want to put those $8 in your pocket as opposed to give them back, because if they came back down here to 37, now you only look at a smaller amount. And then particularly if you get back down to this 32, 33 area, and knowing that you're trading this, so on those ones that you're trading, like you say, you got to be quicker on those to take it, because you're trading it, right? You're not looking for, and all you want to do is just keep getting wins. So if you get a win, take the win. And here's one thing too, for both you and Vanessa, anybody else. Sometimes you got to sell stuff because it's cluttering your thinking. You've been in it so long, you maybe didn't sell it right when you should, and it start to feel pain, and you're thinking about it too much. Sometimes you just got to sell it to get it out your head. And it sounds weird, but it helps a lot of times if it gets you stuck, because once you sell it, you can start looking at other stuff more objectively, or even just looking at other stuff that you wouldn't be looking at because you were so preoccupied with this thing that you're holding that you should have sold at higher prices. So and I would say this, and y'all both touched on it. You got to figure out what your struggles are, kind of on the emotional side. And so I think I've told you all this before. Like, if I get into a stock, say I was in this and I was struggling around selling it, what I would do is I've literally had to tell myself this. I say, okay, if a friend of mine brought this chart to me and they said, this is what I'm doing, and they explain the same scenario that I'm in, I say, what would I tell them? I would chart it up. I would draw my support and resistance. I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, this is what you ought to do. And I'll be pretty emphatic and non-emotional, or have no emotion around the advice, because I'm just looking at the chart, objectively. And so sometimes I have to do that as if I'm giving advice to a friend, because when it's just me thinking about the particular stock that I'm holding, my emotions come in and I lose some of the objectivity. So don't know if that's helpful, but try it. It may help. I think somebody else jumped in or jumped off. Okay, it's David left. Yep. So Christian, what are you looking to buy? How was your year, etc.?
Yeah, so for me, my year was pretty good, honestly, because it was back when, was it GameStop and AMC and those went up dramatically out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. During that time, I was able to, get a good profit and whatnot from those type stocks. But for me, it's more so doing more research on certain stocks that I may be interested in, that have potential and stuff. And I liked what y'all had talked about with looking at maybe the different seasons for certain companies and stuff, because that could be a good factor of when to buy and sell. So maybe expanding what stocks and categories and different things that I should be looking at when to try to go into different stocks and different industries and stuff, and when to get out. So I think for me, it's more so getting more information and then actually applying it with onesie twosie stocks in different industries to diversify my portfolio better, instead of having it in, maybe one or two industries that I've been looking at.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Milt.
Yeah, this been a very good year for me. And I think it's like Christian said, I got in on that GameStop. And let's see, another meme stock. It's Lucid now. I got in on that. And it was sort of like, wow, boom. So everything else just been okay this year, but those two, it just put me another level.
Okay. Now, go ahead.
One quick thing, Roblox. My wife has been killing me on this one. I think it was 60 something, and she told me to buy it, and I didn't. Now,
yeah, I think you just went on mute, maybe by accident. No. Yeah, you hit on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, this is one her and her buddy looking at getting back into now. I don't know if they have already traded it.
Okay.
But I think it was 60 something when she was telling me about it. Maybe 69 or something like that, 70, something like that. And I didn't get in there, and there's regret now.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually owned it, and I don't know, somehow I sold it, probably trying to get into something else and didn't hold on to it. So yeah, I feel your pain there. Feel your pain on that one. But yeah, so but yeah, well, that's good. So I'm glad to hear that, you know, most everybody's up. If not everybody's up for the year. That's always good. I would say just, you know, keep, you know, creating your watch list, just going through your chart. And, you know, I want you all to be putting your support and resistance level. I know I do a lot of the drawing on here. Maybe next year, maybe have you all start sharing your screens and let me see what your all charts look like. And not to, you know, shame anybody, embarrass anybody, but I just want to see if, are you understanding this and can you do it yourself? Because what we do, we'll walk through it and make sure, because it's not that hard. And if you just need some guidance on it, because I want you all to use some of these things, because like I was saying, you know, go back to Square as an example, right? Just looking at Square and having this chart kind of marked up, I just see some points. That 226 was good, but it fell below that. So we here at this 212, you know, and then it's 202. So these are three areas that I know that are significant price points for Square. But if I were to, you know, erase this chart and start all over, you know, I may not necessarily see these or know these. But so two things. One is that I have the chart marked up. It's in my watch list. And as I come back and see it over and over again, it just kind of submit some of these things in my mind in terms of some of these price points. And so when they get there, you know, sometimes I may not even have to look at the chart specifically, but I know that it's like, yeah, it is getting close to my range. You know, kind of like another one that I talked about kind of as it's not even one that I own, but I just know the price point. Roku at 300 was a support point, right? So I just kind of remember it because I've looked at this chart enough. So Roku at 300, it broke through. Now we're down at this 216 mark, right? And see, now I can say, okay, at this 216, this goes back, you know, to October 20. But I don't want to jump the trade, so I'm gonna just wait until I get confirmation for this downtrend to be broken. So, so as you just continue to, you know these price points, put them in your chart. They're really gonna help you to be able to identify, you know, certain areas that you won't even have to look at the chart. You can just hear or see, you know, what the price of the stock is and know that, okay, yeah, this is getting close to an area that I'm familiar with because I've put it on the chart. And this is where this stuff, you know, really helps. And lastly, I would say just having this watch list just helps to create, you know, memory around, you know, some of the tendencies of some of these stocks and what has happened at certain price points. So congratulations to everybody for a good year. You know, and just write down some things that you want to improve upon. Just bring them, and we can talk through them. Our thing here is, sometimes we have to admit some mistakes. Again, it's not to make anybody feel bad, but to just talk through some things, because investing sometimes can be pretty lonely. I mean, I'm grateful for you all joining, such that we do have a group where we can discuss some of this stuff. But imagine if you was just doing this by yourself all the time and you had no one to talk to. It would make it a little bit harder, I think. So thanks for being part of this and sharing. So again, having said that, any parting thoughts before we get out of here for the week?
I'm just going back on what you just said. Now, I appreciate the group, to be honest with you, because as you kind of mentioned, once my husband passed, and I just kind of jumped in, and it was just all in my own head, whatever I was picking up from different videos and whatnot, and just trial and error. It just happened that I jumped in at a good time because it was right with the pandemic, and so I rode some good highs going on up. But now I've got to be a little bit more technical, because you don't have those good old pandemic swings like you had in that early 2019, 2020. So anyway, I appreciate the group.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, and so let's just keep moving forward with it. And I did encourage you all a week or two ago. Have you identified someone that you can teach this stuff to? So anybody got any yays, any nays, any abstains?
I do. I got a couple family members, like brothers and stuff, I can teach it to.
Okay.
It's going to be more so them wanting to be willing to listen, I guess.
Okay.
And understand it. Okay. That'll probably be my thing with my people I can teach it to.
Okay.
Are they willing to do so? Like a learning curve.
Has anybody showed any interest thus far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one has. So I've been, because he's been investing himself.
Okay.
He got a couple stocks he's going through, but it's more so crypto stuff that he's been doing.
Okay. Good stuff. Yep. Anybody else? Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my kids on into it, but they're still young and free, and they're like, yeah, we're interested, and we're doing a little something. Vic's doing more so, but his time change keeps him from joining our group since he's in Washington. Uh-huh. And your broadcast time makes it 6 a.m. for him.
Yeah. Did you send him the link to the playlist, Lo?
Yes. And so he listens to the recordings. And
okay.
So that's been my strategy, trying to work with some of these kids to get them in early. Because of course, if I knew some of this stuff when I was earlier, then I'd definitely be sitting a lot better now than I am.
Yeah. I think we all could attest to that. Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Brian. Milt.
Well, I have actually a large group of different people who are investors, but to get them to come on and to learn stuff like this, woo.
They wouldn't spend the time.
It's more like they started in quick money.
Okay.
So they're used to having their money doubled. My daughter was in on AMC. I went, that company is a piece of crap. Why are you investing in that? And then she doubled her money. I wound up looking like an idiot, so I started to shut up.
Well, but that was an anomaly. So I wouldn't. Yeah, you look crow on that one, but just tell her you can't do it that way, because most stocks are not going to follow that pattern, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't have shut up on that one. I'd have been like, yeah, okay, you got one win here, but keep trying to do that, and let's see how well that pair out for you in the next 10. So, but yeah, and you know, and I would say this, just like, you know, you all, we have a core group. You know, we probably had 20 people on this, you know, on the list or so, even more. But there are a core group of you that show up, you know, very often, and I'm grateful for that. But I say that to say this is that those that are interested, they'll show up. They'll show up and they'll put the work in, and those are the ones you put your time in with. And you know, you tell it to everybody, and you know, but you realize that it's a numbers game. It's probably only gonna be 20% of the people, you know, that you tell that's, you know, gonna join in and do the work and get it. So just, you know, focus your efforts on those that are showing the will and the desire. And the reason why I'm encouraging you all to teach it is it gonna help you to solidify and make you better, because you all have made me better, and I've learned a lot of stuff from you all by teaching it, so I know it's really valuable. And then secondly, it's just kind of, you know, you have another group of people that you can bounce ideas off, because, you know, people just come from different backgrounds. They have different knowledge bases, you know, work in different industries, familiar with different companies, you know, all of that stuff, you know, helps from an idea generation perspective. So that's really good. So again, thanks everybody. Vanessa, are you teaching anybody? Teaching the girls? Are they willing participants or no? She may have dropped out. I think she may have rehearsal. Oh yeah, she might be can't talk. Yep. Okay. But again, thank you all as always, and we'll do it again next week.
I'm here, Mike. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm actually in the car. I'm sorry. Yeah, my oldest daughter, she's been into it. Matter of fact, she's been into it before I was.
Okay.
Got into it with crypto, but now she's actually learning. She's learning the chart. She's learning charting.
Okay.
She's learning all the different indicators and everything. And sometimes when I look at her charts, I'm like, oh my God, all I see is a bunch of squiggles, because she has all kind of indicators on her stuff. And I'm still like, okay, but I think she's too deep into the indicators. And so that's what I think that's what's holding her back, is that she's learning the indicators and not actually putting forth it, practicing investing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, but I'm even glad to hear that she's in the space, because, you know, once people kind of get it, you know, we all have to figure out what's going to suit us, you know, if we go heavy charting, you know, what level of technicals, and some people, they invest in, they don't even really do a whole bunch of charting. They just do a lot of the fundamental analysis, more of the accounting based analysis, you know, and that's good too. It's just that, you know, I just want us to, you know, level up our financial literacy, you know, and the second part of it is, you know, is then put it to work. So, but that's good though. I'm happy for her.
Yeah, it's good she got her daughter into it. My daughter's like, yeah, I should, but okay, Mom, how much money are you making for me today?
You know,
so that's my job, she says.
Well, but you know, that's funny though, because there are some people that they will give you the money and just say, will you just do it for me? You know, and yeah, so you know that happens. There's a couple people that I've helped in that respect. I would want them to learn it for themselves, but you know, in some cases you just got to kind of do it for them, because you know it would be helpful for them, because they probably are not going to do it if you don't do it. So
yeah, that's my daughter. She's like, yeah, maybe if I just start sending you some money once a month, you know, you just do what you got to do, Mom.
That's funny. But yeah. Well, good. Well, again, appreciate you all. We'll pick it up again next week, and we'll go from there.